Yeah, it goes late nights on the road. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Yeah, that's just how it goes these days. I'ma try my best to make this flight, but if I don't wake up tomorrow, then the sun will still be. Yeah,
to the One Step at a Time podcast with your host, the Ocean Flight 101, heading straight to full potential with zero delays. And today I have an incredible guest. My guest today is a filmmaker, multimedia artist, all-around creative who hails from Long Beach, New York, not to be confused with California and Snoop D-O-double-G. He has gained millions and millions of views on his videos, including over 10 million views on one video. He's amassed a following of over 220,000 people, should I say, across TikTok and Instagram. He's released short films such as Found $5, The Love, and We Like It Here, which is an intimate insight to his family, his friends' experience of Hurricane Sandy. He's overall just a cool dude. Ladies and gentlemen, like to welcome Kyle Makes Films, aka Kyle Richard McCarthy.
Thanks so much, Martin. That was a really incredible intro.
No worries at all, my man. No worries at all. I made sure to include the Richard because I know he was your uncle, wasn't he?
Yeah, thank you. That's really important and special to me. I go by Kyle Richard McCarthy when I make short films, and that middle name is an homage to my uncle, who I never got to meet, but I have that middle name from him. He passed away. He was killed in a car accident when he was 21. And that's like what I have as a, I carry it as a homage to him. And so every time I make a short film, I use my full name.
I love that, man. I love that. So yeah, Kyle, as I said, Long Beach, not to be confused with Long Beach, California. I wasn't sure. I'd heard of Long Beach because Rick Rubin, Billy Crystal and whatnot hails from Long Beach. Does Lil Peep come from Long Beach too?
Yeah, Lil Peep as well.
Yeah, and MF Doom. Yeah. Shout out legendary MF Doom.
We got four really interesting, unique power forces of power. Like really awesome creative people.
And then Kyle right beside them, man. We need a statue. We need you in the middle of them. Keep you alive, though. Alive.
It's so funny because growing up, like at my high school, there's a wall of fame of like famous people, and I'd see Rick Rubin, but this was before Rick Rubin became like the idol that he is like today. But is like creator of Def Jam Records. I'm always like, who's this guy, Rick Rubin? And then as an adult, I'm such a fan of what he does.
Have you gotten the opportunity to read his book, Ho?
No, I've read little bits of it, but I everyone tells me I need to read it.
Me too, man. I've been getting recommended so many times. I was like, I'll get around to it. Beautiful stuff, my man. So yeah, I guess bring it back to the beginning. Long Beach. What was it like growing up there? Obviously, beside the sea, we were surfing much as a kid. What was that whole experience like? Bringing back to the younger days of Kyle in Long Beach.
Yeah. So Long Beach, New York is like this small barrier island. Grew up surfing since I was like 7 years old. Definitely like really comfortable in the ocean, in the water, and it's a beautiful little town. I grew up skateboarding. That's where like my original love for film started. I would make skate films with friends, and always had like my camera with me and just documenting like
anything you could,
our lives, and and so I think that's what kind of planted the seed of being interested in filmmaking.
So
for sure,
when you were 10, so you learned success isn't linear, and because when you were 10, you fell off the skate ramp, or what was it? You're at camp, or what happened there?
I went to Camp Woodward, which is in Pennsylvania. It's this really amazing skateboard camp. There's like tons of skate parks there, and like my mom warned me not to try to drop in on any of the big, vert ramps there. And of course, like day 2, I tried to drop in it, and I fell really hard, and it hurt a lot. But like that's stuck with me in the sense of like, as a filmmaker, I always take that, always just like make things and fail in public, not be afraid to like put yourself out there. I think a lot of creative people, I know some of my like closest friends that are really incredibly talented artists, whether it be music or film, often are afraid to put stuff out there. And it's like a shame because that like perfectionist mentality gets in the way of like people seeing their art. And so I've always kind of took the other philosophy as like, I'm going to make as many things as possible. I'm going to like, in hindsight, I'm going to look back and see that these things could have been better, but it's like, I love just the process of making things and sharing it out in the world.
You spoke about Kyle making, obviously doing skating, and that's where kind of like the film and whatnot began. So were you just like doing tricks, or all throughout your childhood were you just creative? Were you artistic, or what was that like? I guess, did you just have that scratch or that itch? You had to scratch it.
It's funny because I like, as a skateboarder, I always liked everything about the culture around it. Like, I love skateboard, like skate decks and different, like the artistry around that stuff. So like as a kid, I always wanted to have like a skateboard company in the future and make all the art for my, you know, the boards, for the clothes, all the design stuff. Like, so I guess, yeah, it not only helped me as wanting to be a filmmaker, but with my art too. It's like, I always was inspired by that kind of stuff. I started a skateboard team when I was a kid. It was called Image Skateboards. There was like me and 13 of my friends, and we would, you know, draw an eye on our skateboards to show that we were part of Image. And I think I've always been trying to like form collectives. You know, I like trying to bring creative people together and make cool stuff.
Well, if you're to, it seems like you have a lot of fun memories of your childhood. Something as I grow and mature as an adult and learn my ups and downs in the world, as we all do, is trying to keep the connection, taking responsibility with what I need to do, but also trying to keep that connection of that inner child. Do you think that the kid in you, well, obviously the kid in you is there, do you think that if you were to have a conversation with your younger self that he'd be super proud? Because I definitely think you would.
Yeah, it's funny you say it that way, because I do try to, like, from time to time, especially if I get caught up in, you know, the day-to-day of life and stuff, and forgetting that, like, if I could tell my younger child, like, look at all these cool things I'm doing today, they'd be super stoked about it, you know? Like, it is cool to think of it in that way. And I think with my art, I try to keep fostering that inner child that just wants to, like, play and create, you know, because in adulthood in life, there's less and less chances to do that.
And so many other responsibilities. So many.
Yeah. So when you could find little moments of time to be creative and feed that inner child, I'm all about that.
I love that. Sometimes I recently went to 50 Cent. So he would have been one of the first artists I ever listened to. And I'm telling you, Kyle, I went from like a grown man to about a 10-year-old inside me. I was like, oh my God, like just balls of dopamine and happiness. Like, and especially like getting to do the like podcasts and chat to people. I love to speak. And I always, since a kid, I just love to ask people questions and find out their stories. So it's me kind of giving back to myself and kind of that way being able to like chat to cool people like yourself. But,
that's awesome. Yeah. You're good at it.
Appreciate it. So as a fellow dyslexic, yeah, man. So growing up,
dyslexia as well? Nice.
Yeah, man, dyslexic. I remember, what age was I? I'm gonna say I was like 7 or 8, and I remember getting diagnosed or whatever. And my mother going to like extreme lengths, like anything she could to like make sure I was learning my own way. So she used to put salt on like cardboard and like do the physical touch learning. She got me a tutor who helped me get into music, because I do music too. I'm a rapper. Wow. Got me into poetry. So like I'm so thankful. When you were in school, what is your superpower now? Didn't feel like it was your superpower maybe back then, you said in one of your videos.
Yeah, it's been a weird long journey with my dyslexia. I think it's shaped me for the better, but as a kid I definitely like, you know, disliked the fact that I had it. You know, I wanted to just kind of fit in with everyone else, and
same,
especially people who seem to be thriving in the school environment. And I was like, had the challenges that just my brain didn't like thrive in that. I'm not like a test taker. Like, you know, that's not. I like to like be creative and thinking out of the box. And yeah, I'm grateful for it in that it kind of, for better or for worse, did put like a chip on my shoulder that like I have to prove to the world that I'm creative enough. If like I deserve to be here as a creative. And, you know, got me here. I mean, it's been a long journey, but I've always like, yeah, I've tried to prove myself as a creative thinker, and then now, ironically enough, I realize that goes hand in hand with being dyslexic. It's not like that was like a disadvantage. That's like my brain thinks differently, and
you encounter like much frustration. Like, I used to always act like I wasn't dyslexic until I was like, no, example, I can't spell. Like, well, it's kind of a bit of laziness, but I can't spell too good, but it's kind of a laziness too.
Dude, no, I can't spell for any.
The way I see words, I like, it helps with rapping, and the way, like, because I don't see the words the way they're spelled, I see that how it sounds, and because of how it sounds, I'm able to link words. And I love words, like, even though I can't spell them, I absolutely love words. Was there any in school growing up? I definitely relate to like that chip on the shoulder. Was there any frustration, maybe learning that it was your skill or was your superpower, maybe, or did it just kind of happen over time? You're like, wait, no, this is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that of like wanted to kind of hide it, but you could see, like, I'm glad that we grew up now as adults that like so many things that we use like have spell check and stuff like that. 'Cause, dude, so I can't spell. I'm terrible at spelling. I love words too, but you give me, pen and paper. If you see my journals, everything's just
same,
like,
man.
The words are all mixed together. Simple
no one
words
can steal
too,
our art, man. No one can steal it.
But you know what? A lot of it was like, as an adult, hearing other creative people talking on podcasts or things like that about being dyslexic and realizing like, oh, like they have the same approach to the world as I do. And like, this is cool. Like, these are gifts, like really incredibly successful creative people talking about how they struggled in school with dyslexia. And then as an adult, doing these amazing things. It's like, oh yeah, like that's a gift that we have, so yeah, it's like, people like someone like Robin Williams was dyslexic, like
genius too, an absolute genius.
Yeah,
I love that. And I think when you have somebody like yourself chatting about it, it helps somebody. I think that's like one of the biggest things I love about your work, Kyle, is like your transparency. And there's I know you put up a thing before, you said about the difference between maybe being performative and being vulnerable. Did it take you, do you think since the beginning with your work that you just had the knack to be vulnerable and look, this is me as a person? Or did that growth with your work come with the growth as a person maybe?
Yeah, I think it's grown over time. I think like, before my work kind of took off on like TikTok and Instagram, I would make short films where a lot of it was like fiction, narrative fiction. And I think like I was afraid to like kind of be vulnerable through like my nonfiction realm. Like, like I used fiction as a tool to explore things that I was struggling with, but I've found that over time, like, being vulnerable about those struggles in my art can have a lot of value to other people, especially like things like sobriety and things like that. I would be horrified to talk about, a couple of years ago. It's actually like can be really helpful to other people. So it's cool, and I try to embrace it.
Not that you need the validation, but you are inspiring a lot of people. So you're definitely inspiring a lot of people.
Thanks a lot.
Cool. I kind of skipped over there, but I want to just go back to your childhood there for a second, because I'm huge into the cold plunges myself now. And I'm a big fan of them.
Too. It's so good.
I'm trying to get myself the actual cold plunge now, because I've been just on the cold showers, which is cool. Guys, not knocking it out there. If you like the cold showers, keep doing it. But I do love the cold plunges. But your pops, man. So he started, what is it, the Polar Bear Club?
Yeah, the Long Beach Polar Bear Club in Long Beach. It started out, him and his best friend jumped in the ocean about like 25 years ago on Super Bowl Sunday. And then every year more and more people would come. And now it's every year 10 to 15,000 people are down there, 5,000 people going in. It's an incredible, huge event. And they raise money for Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is
over 8
really
million,
awesome.
Wasn't it? Around yeah.
Probably at this point, like 8 to 10 million at this point now. It's crazy.
Shout out your puffs, man.
So, yeah, it's really cool. It's
see the David Goggins of the 90s, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to him about it today because, like, you know, now cold plunges, I'm doing it every day and stuff like that. It's a big thing. I'm like, Dad, you're ahead of the times. You know, like he knew about the benefits from way before.
I love that.
Way before school.
What made him do? Was he just? He's obviously an outdoors person, anyways.
Well, he was telling me that he was inspired a lot by the Coney Island polar bears. So in Coney Island, they have a polar bear club that goes in every New Year's Day. They go in, and then they have like a weekly club. But he remembers seeing it on TV and being like, "Oh, I want to do that." What they did, and so he started. Him and his friends started here in Long Beach, and it's funny because they inspired the Coney Island Polar Bear Club to raise money because they used to just do it just to go in, but now they raise money for like Camp Sunshine, stuff like that. So it was cool. My dad's helped kind of form that model of going in for charity.
And helped cool. So many people, Kyle. So many people. So that's a little bit about your childhood. When it comes to your teenage years, then what was how would you describe your teenage years? Was it enjoyable? Do you look back with fond memories? How would you describe? Was it just a growing up like you're trying to find yourself?
Yeah, you know, teen years, it's funny. I have a really vivid memory of high school life because it's so many things happened in that time. And so like I was just chatting with a friend of mine and he was saying how like, it's crazy how vivid my memory is for it. And he was like, I don't have those memories, like I don't remember those things in the way you do. But yeah, just it was it's interesting. It's hard to say. Like I'm very grateful for my teenhood. A lot of crazy things happened within it. You know, like one of my best friends who I've made a number of videos about, my friend Ronnie, passed away when we were in 10th grade, and it was a very sudden death, and it was one of those things that really like changed the course of my like teenhood. I feel like, you know, because it was like before he passed away, we all like felt invincible, and life is, you know, like we're on top of the world. And you know, once that happened, I think it made my friend group at the time a lot closer because we realized just how fragile life is, how, you know, how easy it is to be here one day and be gone. So I think that like really that trauma bonding, that experience made it like kind of very clear in my mind, teenhood. But also, I mean, I have made a lot of really great friends during that time that I'm still friends to this day. So
and the future, the future is
yeah, the future's better than the old days. I've tattooed on my arm. Yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah, and it's the video of Ronnie, the 10 million. Man, that's wow. Like
it's pretty surreal, man.
Like
it's
dude's definitely smiling like more videos, man. You make the videos about me.
Yeah, you know, it's that the fact that that's such a special video to me and it resonated with so many people is big. And now I'm working on a documentary about him. I'm gonna make a documentary about him, and you know, it's like I'm like both fearful and excited for it because, you know, it's like rehashing a lot of, you know, things. But what's kind of wild is that video originally when I posted on TikTok and went viral on there, and I was able to reconnect with Ronnie's sister because of that. Someone had sent her the video, and so like I'm in contact with her, and I want to make sure that it honors Ronnie and his legacy, and so having the family involved and being like open about like how I want to approach it and stuff. So that's something to look forward to in the next year or two.
I love that.
A documentary.
So obviously your teenage years, are you thinking then about following something creative? Because you end up then going to college for social studies, is it?
Yeah, so I went to Purchase College, SUNY Purchase, which is funny enough, it's a school where a lot of creative musicians like come out of. Like, you know, Mitski is from Purchase. I don't know if you know Porches. Do you know Porches? You should check out. It's really good. But a lot of great artists who come from Purchase, a really like, kind of creative school. Even though I didn't go for a creative subject, I was there for history. But yeah, I think I've always been afraid to like go fully in for creative as like, you know, in hindsight, like I wish I went for film at Purchase because they have a great film program. But I guess I was always afraid to like fully pursue my passions, not until like adulthood.
Yeah.
When I realized like, oh, you either life is too short not to.
No, I definitely love that, man. And then, was it around college you meet Bethany then, or is it after college?
Yeah, after college while I was in grad school.
Kyle's wife, yeah. Reference that for anyone listening. Oh yeah, Bethany. We all know Bethany.
Yeah, I met Bethany when I was in grad school.
Yeah, man, that's a really cool story too. Was it volunteering? Was it volunteering? You were handing out the leaflets, or what was it you did?
Yeah, man, you did your research.
I had to do a few bits.
Yeah, so there was supposed to be this big concert that took place there was a Quicksilver Pro contest for surfing in Long Beach, and there was supposed to be this really big music part of it, which like the Flamin' Lips were supposed to play, and Interpol, Taking Back Sunday, all these big bands. Q-Tip was supposed to play.
Shout out Q-Tip.
Yeah, it was going to be big, and then Hurricane Irene happened, and the city of Long Beach canceled the music section. But I think they canceled it because they were afraid of how big it was going to be. Like, yeah, it was going to be like a huge event, and so me and my friends started a petition to try to get the city to reconsider. And I was helping my friends who created the petition, and then Bethany happened to be friends with them as well, and we met trying to get people to sign petitions.
So you meet, but then randomly later on you meet at a friend's house.
Yeah. And then that's
she writes her number on your hand, or I thought that was so romantic.
She asked for my number.
That was so nice.
Yeah.
Were you going to ask her for the
history.
Number, or were you thinking about it?
Yeah, I wanted to. Because it's funny, I met her that early that day, and I couldn't stop thinking about her the whole rest of the day. It was just like fate, that I ended up hanging out with her that night.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
You and Bethany obviously together. Around this time, are you starting to put out any much of your work out there, or are you still just working on kind of behind the scenes around that period?
I think I was still doing stuff mainly for fun. I was making like some small like short films here and there. I was making music a lot during that time.
Shout out the Foo Fighters.
I make music as Sleeping Loops.
Sleeping Loops. Oh yeah, sorry. I
was
wanted to get
my
the
name.
Everlong
Yeah.
video. That was it. Because you watched the Everlong video that you got inspired.
Oh yeah, that was its inspiration back in the day. Yeah, for sure.
So was it originally music videos and then started into films, or?
Yeah, it was. I'd make little music videos to the songs that I was making at the time. But then, yeah, it wasn't until after Hurricane Sandy that I started making short films and stuff.
So Bethany was pregnant. So around, I want to say 2012 is it that Hurricane Sandy happens. So previous to that, Bethany was pregnant, your wife now, and you were making a hypothetical if a hurricane were to hit.
Yeah.
And what happened after that?
Yeah, so crazy enough, me and a friend of mine the summer before Hurricane Sandy started to make this documentary where we were asking people, if Long Beach were to be destroyed by a hurricane, what would you want to be remembered about it? And then Hurricane Sandy happened in 2012. I happened to have my camera with me and documented just everything in real time as it was happening. And Bethany, my wife, was 6 months pregnant at the time. So it was a pretty wild experience.
That's obviously a stressful period. Would you say, Kyle, that I'm a great believer that, like, just how you could pick out in your childhood the moment when you fell off the ramp, how you can pinpoint that, do you think that was a moment where you kind of almost leveled up as a man? You're like, wow, I'm just not me anymore. I got to protect my family here. Like was there that responsibility feeling in your head, or because I know you're staying with Bethany's mother and stepfather at the time when it was happening, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the time we were living with my parents' house, and their house is right near the water, so we had went over to Bethany's parents' house to stay there because it was a little bit more inland, and luckily we did, because my house got 5 feet of water going through the house at the height of the storm, which would have been a really scary experience to be here. I sometimes imagine what it would have been like to be in the house at that time while the water is raging through it. So luckily we were safe. But then the next day, going through back to my house and just seeing it in crazy disarray, it was just one of those real turning point moments of I think a lot of it with filmmaking, having that piece of equipment between me and my world was helpful in processing and everything. And part of me was wow, this is crazy to capture. Look how crazy the house is. Not thinking
this would cost so much to get people to do this to me.
And but it was one of those moments where it made me realize life is too short not to do what you want to do. And I want to be a filmmaker. And so at the time I was on my way to becoming a teacher. I was finishing up my master's, and I kind of pivoted and went towards a more uncertain route, but more which is filmmaking. Yeah.
Wowzers, man. You spoke about there, in one of your videos, you said that you most likely weren't ready to even make that film once it happened, once the hurricane happened, but you just kind of jumped into it. Do you think making it so sudden, as straight as the hurricane happened, was almost like a coping mechanism to help just almost deal with it because it was so overwhelming?
Yeah.
Or would you see it maybe differently?
For sure. It was definitely a way to cope with it and understand it, because it was, everything just moved so fast after the hurricane. It's we were living in different places. We stayed upstate with my cousin and her husband for a little bit, and then stayed in Brooklyn, and we just stayed on people's generosity for a month or two, and then had to kind of reconfigure our lives.
I think it's a really good reflection too of the network in terms of friends and family you have, because the reason I even hit you in the first time, I love hitting people. If I find someone's art or someone's cool, the first thing I do is just message them and just because it's I always imagine if I was walking down the street and someone was doing something cool that I liked, I was oh, hey man, that's pretty cool. So I kind of have that mentality. Cool. But I think it's a really good reflection. You come across as a very grounded person, and you have that aura about you, and I think it's a really good reflection of the friends and family you have. Because a lot of people don't have a network like that they could just someone could hey, sleep here for a couple. Do you take it in often? You're wow, I have some really great friends. I have a beautiful family. Is it heavy? Do you think about it much? Or?
Yeah, it's I'm incredibly grateful for the friends and family I have. It's wild because it not to skip ahead in my life journey, but recently we had moved down to Puerto Rico for a couple of months, and yeah, and being away from friends and family and community, I didn't realize just how much I need that, those social interactions, until you take yourself completely out of your surroundings. And it was a weird, difficult time for me, because I was yeah, I missed having that social group. So
I didn't realize how much I missed. So I lived in Barcelona for a year.
Oh yeah, awesome.
I learned no Spanish, no Catalan, should I say? Zero. Por favor, gracias, hello and thank you every day. But I was wow, it made me realize how much I love Ireland. And Ireland's an incredible place, but it has its faults, every place.
Dude, I gotta go. I just found out recently, like there's it's possible to get dual citizenship if you're.
Oh, I thought you
like
got a Gophers. I was like, no.
No. I'm saying with Ireland, I gotta go to
yeah,
Ireland.
Man, what's the Irish connection? Because McCarthy is definitely Irish.
Yeah. It's comes from Cork. That name, it's like like a big percentage of the population has that last name. I hear.
Yeah, a lot of McCarthys. I know a couple of McCarthys.
But I hear that if you have like your great grandparent is from Ireland originally, that you can apply for dual citizenship.
Yeah, man. Do it.
I gotta get on that.
Ireland's the most.
What part of Ireland are you from?
So I'm from a little place called Sligo. So we have some beautiful mountains. We're known for our poets, W.B. Yeats. Kind of technically not from Sligo, but kind of from Sligo. I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Found 50 Cent and was like, boom, I'm gonna be a rapper.
Nice.
The reason I think I connected with your content too is growing up, like always watching films. Like I was very grateful to my mother. We'd always stay up like on Saturday night and just like watch films till like late in the morning, and like all the 80s, all Arnold Schwarzenegger, like all that 80s action movies and 90s. I love like 80s has me, 90s I love, 2000s.
Yeah.
I like it, and then everything gets a bit funny after that. But yeah, man, I think anybody that comes to Ireland falls in love with Ireland. Like it's a magical. There's no doubt about it. It's a magical place.
I know.
Definitely recommend visiting.
I really want to go there, but yeah. Also, you were saying with Barcelona. I've been to Barcelona too. I really loved it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city. It's a bit rowdy. It can get a little bit rowdy from time to time.
It does. So you found that you missed Ireland when you were there?
It like just simple things. Like there's certain like things in the culture and the certain way you treat things, and like in every culture, just how you would in Long Beach versus like Puerto Rico, or just like Barcelona, and like so. If I found myself, and obviously the language too, because this year I want to pick up some Spanish, but like the language, man, like even I'd be in a cafe and you wouldn't understand what's happening around you, and I just come home and I hear someone say something in the street, and I'm like, I understand what they're saying. Like it kind of feels like I'm eavesdropping on everyone now, but
dude, I can relate to that for sure. Yeah.
Did you learn any Spanish when you were in Puerto Rico, or is it Portuguese or Spanish?
Very little. Spanish. Yeah. And it was it was a little hard to navigate. It was very humbling because like I'm like trying to communicate and I was like, I just sound like a little kid, like, stumbling through my words. And it also felt super embarrassing if like I was at a store or something, someone's trying to like talk to me and I'm just like, yeah. Like I probably sound like a jerk, like, cause I'm not responding, but so they just didn't understand them.
Have you traveled much, and has it influenced your work?
Yeah, I love to travel. I definitely like, because I feel like travel, like, kind of the experience wakes you up in a way. Like it takes you out of your day to day. You're so like, it helps you be so much more present. I think it definitely inspires my work a lot of, I've been to like Iceland and France, Paris, and Barcelona, and some traveling throughout the US. But yeah, I love to travel.
Kyle, I love how you say the countries, because I don't know why Americans love doing it, but they love just saying Europe. They always say, Europe. I'm like, okay, but there's a lot of countries in Europe. That's like to us, that'd be like saying, it's very broad. Just America. Like there's a difference between Kansas or New York, I'm sure.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, Kansas though. I ain't hating on Kansas. As a lot of your friends from kind of left, is kind of Long Beach somewhere that like people leave, or does it have, because it's right beside it? So how far is it New York? Is it 80 miles?
Yeah.
Or shorter?
No, it's super short. I think it's probably like 25, 30 miles away from, I could see it from my house, but it's, because like it's the city, it's the traffic is the problem. If there was no traffic, it would take, 35, 40 minutes to drive there. But with traffic, train ride, it's an hour train. So it's pretty cool. We're very close to New York City for sure. So
would a lot of your friends kind of move? Was that the thing, move into the city, or was it kind of growing? Further,
New York City or Brooklyn, Queens,
or Harlem, maybe.
yeah, definitely a couple. But yeah, I've always felt like I went to grad school in New York City, and it's just, you know, easy enough to like just kind of commute in and out of the city. I like that Long Beach has, it's more of like a sleepy kind of small town vibes versus New York City. That's it's got an energy to it. Have you ever been to New York City before?
I've been to Los Angeles. I went through New York. So technically I have been in New York. I was in the airport. So that's as far. I remember just when I was going to LA for a music competition, and obviously we just stopped in New York and then got another flight, and we're flying over New York, and like obviously growing up with the movies, like it it sounds cliche, but like, you grew up watching the movies and stuff, but like obviously Hollywood films and whatnot. And I remember looking out and I was like, oh my God, it's real. I was like, the buildings are there. I can see them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite a moment. Is there anywhere else you'd like to travel? Is there any particular you'd like to go to?
It's funny because the first place I got to mind is Ireland. I that's like the next place on the bucket list is to go to Dublin.
Great surfing too. Sorry, I meant to say for Sligo. Incredible for surfing. Incredible waves. Absolutely
some cold
huge.
water, right?
Oh, cold.
Here.
Here's something for you. It's not cold. It's cold. That's the accent coming there. It's cold water.
Yeah. I remember seeing some surf videos about Ireland back in the day. I thought the surfing looked awesome.
Yeah, man. Fucking
Thicker Than Water, I think it's called. Do you ever see that surf film?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be too educated now in the surfing scene, but I've only surfed once. But
Oh, okay.
Here's something for you, called I only learned to, obviously growing up. You were growing up in water, so I'm sure you knew how to swim since you were a baby. But
Yeah.
I only when I was 8 or 9, I had a really bad experience in water.
Oh, really?
Like, it wasn't, in reality, now looking back, it wasn't that bad, but because I was so young, it was so scary.
Yeah.
And I had to get help out of the water, and I wasn't drowning, I was just struggling, but it left a mark on me. Never went near water ever till about 3 or 4 years ago. I started going in the ocean, and then literally only last September jumped in deep water for the first time, like off a pier. Oh my God, I was like, bruh, how have I never done this?
Yeah.
Exhilarating.
No, I get that. I know people like, who had, if you have that kind of a bad experience in the water, especially young, it definitely sticks with you for a long time.
Yeah, man. And what's even funnier is when I was living in Spain, I lived in a little town called Sitges, and this is last year, and every morning I'd go into the ocean. I wouldn't go in deep, but I'd go in, so I was used to the water. So I was getting like my fear wasn't even there anymore. I just thought it was there. Because when we went to the pier back in September, it's down in Mayo, it's down in the west, so Sligo's the west and Mayo's in the west too of Ireland. And I wasn't nervous to jump in because I was so familiar with the water. I was like, wait, my body feels like it, like I've been in the water so much now that the fear is not there. I just think it's there. So I was like, wait, I can do this. So that was huge. Yeah. So hopefully I want to do more. Cool, that was just about surfing. The hopefully I want to do more surfing.
Yeah, man. Build back up.
So yeah, let me bring it back to, so obviously just bring it back to Hurricane Sandy. That's 2012. You begin putting your art out in the world more frequently. Is it you focusing then on the documentaries, Kyle, the short films, before you start doing short form? And the release of We Like It Here, what was that like, the release of that, like releasing that into the world?
Yeah. So funny, it's right after Hurricane Sandy, I knew I wanted to make a documentary about it. And I did a Kickstarter to try to get some like funding to basically buy a better camera, like a microphone for it, and then to buy like Final Cut Pro so I could start editing it. And I realized like
good investment. Sorry to interrupt, but good investment.
And the funny thing though is like once I started editing and everything, I realized like all right, I have to like learn how to do what I'm doing. Like it was like I had the ambitions to make a film, but then I was like, as I was making it, I was realizing like I had to do some practice. So like I had originally expected to put We Like It Here out in that first year after it, but I ended up not releasing it till 7 years later. And so in that time, I just kind of learn to be a filmmaker. I made short films. Some of them were really bad at first, and music videos and stuff, and just kind of all through like trial by fire. And then some people would hire me out for different freelance gigs and stuff, making like little commercials and stuff like that. And I just kind of did everything in order to like learn what I'm good at. And then eventually I had put enough time doing all these different things that I was ready to like, we like it here. I would always like I would like work on it, and then I'd get stuck. I'm like, oh, how do I make this like, it just wasn't working. And then wasn't until I really like,
Kyle, what's that point like when you're deep into a project, you're trying to figure it out, you're trying to get over that hurdle? Like what's that look like? What's that feel like when you're in that in that zone?
Yeah, for me, it was like trying to chip away at it and working on it and trying different edits. And for me, it was like all throughout this time also, I was really trying to immerse myself in like short films. Like I've always been a huge fan of Vimeo. Vimeo staff picks and stuff like that have always been like a great guide for like what's cool and what's unique in the short film world. And for me, it's like I saw some short documentaries that did stuff in a very unique way. And I was like, oh, I want to do something similar to that. And that was like a breaking point moment. It's actually this one short film called My Dead Dad's Porno Tapes, which if you've never seen it, I gotta send you the link.
I can't say I have. Wink, nudge, nudge.
The funny thing is, it's like the name's like a kind of a silly name, but it's actually a really sweet, heartfelt documentary about this guy basically in the experience of his dad. It passes away, and then he finds all of his stuff, and he makes like a mixed media like homage to his dad through all the trash and stuff left behind. And so that's why I like My Dead Dad's Porno Tapes. Like that's one of the things he finds. But what was so unique about it is that it was done like a narration, and it was like everything was kind of strung together by this narration. And so like for me, that made me think like, all right, I need to narrate this film. I have to like, that will help me condense these important things that I want to talk about. And I had to like, I was trying to make just a broad film about the Sandy. And then I realized if I make it as specific about me and my family and my experience, that will actually resonate with more people. And so that was a kind of breakthrough moment. And when I finally finished it, it was amazing. Like the release was a really cool experience because there's this website called No Budge that I've always been a huge fan of the videos and shorts films they put out. And I'd submitted a couple of short films prior and got rejected. And so that film got accepted, and I was like, it's amazing to have it premiere there. And then I did a local premiere at my library. And
wasn't it one of the proudest moments?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was just like so cool to have just this auditorium filled with friends and family. And yeah, like my kids got to see
Didn't your
it on the
son come up and hold your hand? Yeah.
While I was doing the Q&A, my son Jacob came up and grabbed my hand and was hiding underneath the podium. And it was it's just like that was one of my proudest filmmaking moments for sure. Is getting to show my film at the library.
Little dude seeing his pops do major moves, man. Major moves. Love that. So would you say that was the first, obviously premiering that, did that give you a lot of confidence then going forward with more of your work, with more of your short films?
Yeah, well, a little bit before that, I released a film called The Love the year before that.
Award-winning.
It won an award at a film festival. We got to show it a couple of different places. So that was like a cool, The Love and We Like It Here really gave me like the confidence to kind of pursue, like to put my stuff out there. But it's funny, I feel like I've always been trying to find an audience for my work, and it didn't really click until like TikTok came around. Like that was like kind of a game changer moment of like people being able to really see my work on a level that, it was never, I've always like desired so much as a filmmaker to have that kind of audience to tap into. And that was the first time where like, millions of people are seeing something I made. And that was like pretty cool.
You had a line where the goal was always to be a filmmaker, not an influencer.
Yeah.
So when did you start TikTok, and how far in TikTok were you until you started like gaining some momentum, some traction?
Yeah, so it's funny because I think around 2021, like March of 2021, I started doing TikTok. A friend of mine, Steffi, she is an Instagram influencer, and she started doing TikTok and finding some like really good success on there, like within the first couple months of her being on there, growing an audience really quickly. And I was like, oh, I gotta give this a try. And I first did it kind of promoting my music. And funny enough, like when I would post my music stuff, no one would see it. But when I posted these mixed media animations that I'd been doing for fun during the pandemic, people seemed to dig it, and people would reach out to me and be like, hey, can you make something for me? Like, and so I started to realize that, oh, maybe I need to pivot and like make two different accounts. So I made a separate account that was just Kyle Makes Short Films, thinking like, this is where I'm going to post all my film stuff. And like right away, that account started gaining way more traction than my music account. So I just kind of ditched the music account and just fully went in with Kyle Makes Short Films. And it took a couple of months. Then I posted this video about actually my experience on September 11th. I actually was surfing the night of September 11th, and my dad was filming me, and you could see in the horizon the clouds from the Twin Towers. And that video about that experience like was my first video to get like 1 million plays. And like that, I realized that if I combined the mixed media animations that I love to make, and then I combine like storytelling, that seemed to be a good mixture. And and things took off kind of quickly there, which is cool.
Did it almost feel like, oh wow, I have a formula now? Or what was that moment like? Did it feel, oh, this is cool? What were the feelings like? Because you'd been making art, you'd been making films for so long, and all of a sudden you've gained this exposure that you've kind of been waiting for, not your whole entire life, but like a while. Like, what was that feeling like when you're like, okay, all I got to do now is kind of rinse and repeat the great things I'm doing? Or how did that feel?
Yeah, it's fun. I feel like I've never like been able to figure out the formula. Like, I think
you're telling me, you're telling.
I love to experiment and try new things, but like sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. But like I think I try to like just make stuff that I'm proud of. And I like to lean into the mixed media and storytelling, because that's just like, I enjoy doing those things the most, and sometimes, so when those videos do take off, it's just kind of, it's a lot of luck, it's cool that it worked out. But
it was a very good quote, Kyle. The only time you see luck is when you look for it. It's like, how many red cars did you see today? If I give you $50, you'll see a red car. Like, if you're looking for it, it'll pop up. You were speaking about TikTok there, and one of the videos I came across, Kyle, is a video of you telling a story about back in 2020, back in the pandemic. And you were watching, now damn it, I forgot the name of the film, and I had it in my mind, but it's gone. You were watching a kids film, an animation with your kids. Onward. Yeah, I had it too. I had it. But and you almost, well, it was a dark period, like it was a dark time in the world. Do you mind speaking about maybe like what you were thinking in that moment, about the video, or sorry, what you said in the video of watching Onward that moment?
Yeah. So during the pandemic, my wife was pregnant with our third son. And so it was definitely really like scary, that we're in this time where, the last place you want to be is at a hospital. We know like in a couple months we're going to have to be at a hospital. New York was like, the cases were crazy. It was like, it's just a really scary and uncertain time. And I remember watching this film Onward, which is a kid's film, and it's about like, it's these like, it's hard to describe the like plot without it sounding ridiculous, with like these kids that are wizards, and they're trying to do the spell to bring back their dad who passed away and bring him back for one day. And it's just this like epic adventure they go on to do that. And it made me think about like, you know, if I were to pass away during this time or something, like, and never got to meet my third son, like how would my other two like describe me to him, or like, you know, what would be left behind of me to like tell that story to me. And it was very like, it definitely brought up a lot of feelings in me when I was watching that film.
Yeah, man. And as you see, it sounds a little mad, the plot or concept, but when you think about it, it's such a powerful concept to think if you could bring a person back or figure out, because I've been very blessed. It's something that kind of like, I've been very blessed. I haven't lost anyone close to me throughout the years, but I've lost like uncles and grannies and cousins and stuff, but they've never been too close. So I guess I don't know that journey yet. But you had a line about grief can weigh you down like a spacesuit, is it?
Yeah.
When just like going back to Ronnie or even your cousin, what's it? Have you, as the time goes by, of course people heal, but have you figured out own ways that help you heal with like different grief throughout the years?
Yeah, it's with like, I lost my cousin in 2013, and with like him and with Ronnie, when for me as like a filmmaker, it's very like therapeutic to like talk about my grief in the filmmaking format. I just find it like a way to like could be very helpful for me. Yeah, it's hard to like, on especially those days like when those death anniversaries come up and stuff like that, instead of like being really you know, sitting in my grief, like to make a video about them or something, like it's helpful to like, you know, to kind of like talk about them and share a bit of them with the world. I've always, hey, grief is a weird thing. It's very strange, and as a filmmaker, it's a weird thing to navigate and a hard thing to navigate. But sometimes also it's when I do share those stories and it resonates with a lot of people, it makes me realize like that it is something universal and relatable. You know, we all go through it, you know, in time. And so that's like, that makes it worth it to like share it out there, and it resonates with other people that understand that experience. It's
definitely, man. And it goes back to just like putting out your work as an inspiration. It's also like, it might be mad to think, but it brings people a lot of comfort. Like your work, I'm sure people, because it's happened to me, and I know for a fact you've most likely got messages about it, but you get messages and you put things out, you put your art out in the world.
Yeah.
Kyle, you got a lot, your numbers are crazy compared to mine. I'm getting there though, guys, we're getting there.
Yeah.
But I receive, even this podcast, which is fairly fresh and new, I receive like really powerful messages, like just
That's
super
awesome.
powerful messages about people listening when they have a bad day or connecting with something, and then taking that like piece of advice and running with it and growing as a person themselves. So I think they're really good reminders that, wow, yeah, my work is having an impact, and it's something to be proud of, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Like, you're putting your art out there to have an impact on people.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'm very blessed and grateful that I get a ton of really kind DMs and messages about my work. Sometimes it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially if
that's a good problem though, just the amount of messages, I guess.
Yeah, like when the video about Ronnie, when I reshared it on Instagram, it was just a flood of stuff. And that's what it's funny, because you messaged me about coming on the podcast back then, and I totally missed it. And luckily you reached out to me recently again, and then I forgot. Dude, I'm so sorry.
Because I forgot I reached out, because I was like, geez, I must reach out to Kyle. And then I forgot and I reached out. I was like, oh yes, that's lovely.
No, I'm glad you did. And it was like, yeah, but it's overwhelming. It's like, because it's, you know, you share out your vulnerability, and then people share out their vulnerability back with you, and
it can be a tough one to navigate.
Yeah, it's tough to navigate, but definitely grateful for it. It's amazing. Yeah.
I'll just touch on this one last thing about like impact and stuff. But a guy messaged me before about my music, and he unfortunately lost his pops, and he was like really thankful. And I was reading it, and I was like, I was processing it, but I was thinking, is there like a gap between me and what's actually being said here? Like, because it's on this phone, I guess that's why I love phone calls and voice notes so much, because you're transmitting that energy, like in voice. Sometimes I find it difficult with just text. Like, if I'm texting, like with Dayton, I do not text with Dayton. I don't want to text. Like, we either meet up or I ring, one or the other. But
it's funny. That might be a dyslexia thing too, because
it could.
I'm terrible with emails and stuff like that. It's really hard to it's much easier to talk and communicate with someone than it is to write out with words.
Yeah, no, I feel that, man. I feel that. So 2021, you're putting videos, you're getting traction. When do you feel like you started to get a fan base? Like you feel like you built a little like community for yourself? Was it just, again, because that, man, where does that raw worth ethic and consistency come from? Did you always have that? Because if you go on your TikTok, Instagram, and scroll, it's video after video and really great videos too. So like, where did that worth ethic and consistency kind of stem from?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's one of those things where the way my brain works, I just love making videos. And so like, I can't help myself but want to make things, and put stuff out there. I'm trying to get slowed down a little bit this year because I want to really take my time and just make the best things I can make rather than quantity, make it like quality over quantity. But it's just, I really love the whole process of just coming up with an idea and seeing it through, yeah. And so when I come up with an idea and then it resonates with a whole lot of people, like that's like, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was funny in one of your videos how you're saying like in your days, it's just your ideas are just flooding. They're like just flooding out in your mind.
Yeah, and trying to catch them.
Yeah, you're trying to whoa. You're with a fishing rod. So yeah, on building your community, when did you feel like you're starting to build your community over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think in the first couple of months, or maybe like the first year or so on TikTok, I felt like I was building a bit of a community on there. It was really cool to like artists that I liked or people that were doing cool stuff on TikTok to like connect with them and feel like inspired by all these different people and inspire them as well. Like that was cool. Like, I started building that. And then I had in June of 2022, I had like a video go viral, like for the first time, like kind of really hit. Like, was it
the letter in the bottle or?
A message in a bottle. I was on a run and I found a message in a bottle, and it was just, it like took on a life of its own. Like, it was on the news. But it was like, it's funny because in hindsight now, like I could like laugh at it, but at the time I took it so serious that like, as it was going viral, like people were like accusing me of like staging it and stuff like that. And I was getting so hurt and taking it's such offense to it. But then I realized like on the internet, people love to like disprove people, like
their hobbies,
anything
their favorite
personal.
Hobby.
Yeah. And I think it robs me of the experience because in hindsight, I'm like, that's really freaking cool that I found a message in a bottle.
So cool. So cool.
And in hindsight now, I could kind of laugh at it and be like, yeah, that was a wild experience. But it was my first time like hitting really crazy numbers where like, one day it was at 10,000 plays. And by the end of that night, it was at 2.5 million plays. So it was like, it was kind of surreal and wild. But yeah, that kind of like, it's weird with viral videos. I think it kind of throws off the sense of community on like a platform, like because you're getting exposed to this much larger audience that doesn't really know what you do. They maybe follow you for that one video, but they don't really care about the things you make. So then like after every time you go viral, like you kind of have to rebuild that community. It gets thrown off a little bit and then you try to build it. But yeah, I've been grateful that like in the last year, like things on Instagram have done really well on there. So like TikTok's TikTok's always a weird, just gamble of a place. It's like what I try to see it as like TikTok's what got me to the party, but now I'm trying to figure out how to stay here long term and do, and
I got a couple ideas for you.
You got to branch out.
Yeah,
to
no,
places.
Of course.
Yeah.
I seen one of the ladies, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Diary CEO, the podcast. It's a really big podcast from the UK. And one of the ladies, producers behind it, she was speaking about how like TikToks, they know exactly what works on a platform, but be that YouTube Shorts, be that Instagram. But when it comes to TikTok, that's just their experimental ground. They're just trying everything and anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, I guess with posting so much, I know you spoke about it before. First of all, we both are dyslexic and we both love running. Now, I've an injury at the moment, Kyle, but it's only a small injury for all my listeners wondering. I'm coming back. I've been doing my exercises. But there's a great quote, you never regret going for a run. I've never regret going for a run.
Yeah.
And you're an avid runner, and I seen one of your videos, you were saying how trying to find that middle ground between staying in touch in reality and enjoying them moments and being the personal documentarian, as you just said. Do you feel like you're making progress with that as time goes by, or do you think is it still a challenge you're trying to juggle?
Yeah, it's still a challenge, but I like to think I'm getting better at it, of knowing when to do things just for the fun of doing things versus things to document. Like today I went on a run. I didn't document it or anything, but yeah, sometimes you just need those things that are just for you, and I'm trying to figure that out with storytelling too. It's like the stories that are worth sharing to larger audience and what are ones that are better for a campfire with friends,
I love that, man. I love that. So what does the future look like now for you, Kyle? Obviously, was it the Rolling Stones? You worked on the album was it the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, I did a video for the Rolling Stones new tour that they're going on.
A little flex there, guys. Just a little. I'll add some noises. I've been promising my listeners.
Tiny band from England.
Yeah. They're all rap fans. They probably haven't heard it. Was that a pinch me moment or?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and it was great. It was crazy because I got offered that job, and then that same day I got a Vimeo staff pick for the first time, and so it was like truly surreal. Like, this is amazing. Like, so many cool things are happening right now. Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So I'm very blessed. I work in the music industry, and maybe 2 years ago, I remember an artist had like 500,000 monthly listeners we were working on. I was like, oh my God, we've done it. And now we're working with artists who have like 18, 19 million monthly listeners. Wow. And we worked with one, and literally that was like a couple months ago. And now I'm like, they have 18, 19 million, fair. And then I was like, hold up, man, stop for a second here and take that in. So you still have to enjoy and fully take in them moments of maybe something like that Rolling Stones. Moments you're like, wow, again, another, like, back to when you were a kid. Imagine like telling my younger self this.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think with the future is like trying to figure out as a creator, like more sustainable routes to like build audiences. Like, so, this year I really want to pour more time and effort into YouTube and make a channel where I'm doing more long form stuff.
Beautiful.
Try to, I don't know, branch out. I love doing short form. I love like short videos, but
you're a filmmaker at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm a filmmaker, and so I want to get back into like making things that are longer form. And yeah, I'm kind of excited to branch back.
Would you like any of your kids? Are your kids creative or?
Oh yeah, they're super.
Are they lawyers and doctors and nurses?
No, they're creative little guys. My oldest wants to be a chef when he grows up.
Beautiful.
And my middle son, loves music and wants to be an actor right now. That's his thing.
Incredible.
And then my youngest, he's 3 years old, and he's a silly, wild guy. So.
And you thinking more kids, or you're like,
we're all good. Yeah, 3 boys.
Bethany doesn't want a girl, no?
Plenty.
Love that, man. Love that. Well, Kyle, my man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah, man, this has been great.
Super enjoyed the chat. Thank you for going so into depth with different things and whatnot. And,
I appreciate you doing so much of your research. You really walked me through my life.
Yeah. What was it like, actually? I don't know, is this regular? I actually hadn't seen, I'm not sure if you've done many podcasts in the past.
I've done a couple, but they never go in depth like this. You take the cake for...
I'm going to use that as my sound bat. As I said, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, my man. Thank you for your time. And this has been another episode of One Step at a Time podcast with your host, the Ocean Flight 111, and straight to full potential with Zero Delays. Guys, don't have a good day. Kyle, have a great day.
Yeah, it goes late nights on the road. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Yeah, that's just how it goes these days. I'ma try my best to make this light, but if I don't wake up tomorrow, then the sun will still be. Yeah, it goes late nights on the road. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Yeah, that's just how it goes these days. I'ma try my best to make this light.